it says lesson 4.1, day 3, what's wrong with these surveys? We're going to go through 3 different types, 3 different names for some bias pop up. So bias mathematically is you are consistently over or under representing the actual value. So like it could be on purpose, it can be on accident, whatever it is, but you're missing the mark consistently. So we did, on Friday, we talked about voluntary response bias, which was like, it was a magazine and they were like, if you think about this, go vote online and take our survey. And they were like, oh yeah, look at this, 95% of people think this or whatever. So voluntary is like a radio show or something to where you're like having to take action to actually take their survey. And so what's wrong with those is it's mostly like the more passionate responses will be counted, and it's not really maybe just the normal person. So it might have some overreactions. All right, so this first one, we have the mayor of Springfield is wanting to find the average age of the people in his city. So he gets a list of all the landline telephones in the city and contacts a simple random sample of 300 people. So he does a simple random sample. So he does a good sample. That's good. He uses the data from the sample to estimate the average age of all the people in the city. What's wrong with this survey? See something?
The age, like, if you're younger, then you're not gonna like pick up the phone, right?
Okay, yeah, if you're younger, you might not pick up your phone. I mean,
only people who have a landline?
yeah, I was gonna say, like, I don't have a landline phone. Like, my parents don't have a landline phone anymore. My grandma does. It's like, so I would say mostly, especially now, like landline, not as much of a thing. I don't know any people, like people my age that have some. So I think the thing is that the list that he got was from a landline telephone directory, and how accurately is that getting everybody in my city? So he did a simple random sample, but he got bad data. So what's wrong with this? Only using landline people, basically. So what's happening is he's missing other people, like missing people. And so he's missing people so this is bias. And so if it's bias, these step B's are just like, are we over or under representing? So do you think the mayor will over or under represent the true mean age? So yeah, if all he's doing is contacting older people, he's probably gonna over because older people have landlines. So it is important where you're getting your list from. Like, I did a stratified random sample of Bryan High, and I just so happened to get my student list from Miss Patterson, the IB coordinator. It's like, well, that's not telling me much anymore. It's just going to tell me about the IB kids. So we got to make sure you get your list and then take a good sample from those good lists. So what this is called, so the name for this would be under coverage bias. So under coverage, you're missing people. There was no chance that some of the people, like my family, would have not gotten contacted in that survey. So we are completely missing out on some groups of people. And that could have been on purpose or on accident, but either way, it's bias. Even though we did a simple random sample. So that's kind of the key too. Just because you did stratified or something doesn't necessarily mean it's all good. Alright, so number 2, some people at a school, like the admin, like the principals and stuff, want to know the proportion of students who did their homework last night. They select a simple random sample of 100 students and send them an email asking them if they did their homework last night. Of the 40 who responded, 36 said that they did their homework. We got 90% success rate. Doing good on our homework. What could be wrong? I could actually see a whole bunch of different types of bias here, but what's something wrong
I
with
feel like people who don't do their homework don't care if they check their email.
Okay, sweet. So that's a good one. So what's wrong with this one? Those who didn't respond probably didn't do their homework. Those who didn't respond, likely no homework. Yeah.
And why would you rat on yourself?
Okay, so yeah, here's another, this is another type of bias. So, even if I did respond and an assistant principal asked me or something, like, I would probably have lied, like said, yeah, I did my homework last night or something. Like, I was totally on top of it. So, you straight up lied or something. Okay, I could also see, so I won't list this one, but like voluntary response bias, almost in a way of like, oh yeah, I did mine, I want to respond, like, yeah, I did it. So you could kind of go that route, but let's hit on these two. So I had 100 students that I tried to do it, and 40 only responded. So I don't know what those 60 other people did. They didn't respond. Right, so what that one's called is basically what it sounds like. That one's going to be like a non-response bias. So I just simply chose not to give you an answer. And the problem with that is I have no idea. I can probably guess that those people didn't do their homework, but I don't know. Like, they could have. They just didn't see their email or whatever. I don't know what they did. They just didn't give me an answer. So that's a non-response bias. The people who lied, they felt pressured to give me a certain answer. That one is going to be response bias. So you've got non-response bias and response bias. So response is when you're pressured to give an answer. So last year we did some samples of the school, and some kids decided to ask kids, do they smoke weed or not? And so, actually a lot of people, they got some people to say yes, but maybe some people said no, but they might have actually would have said yes if it was truthful, but they're like, I don't want to tell you that. Like, I'm going to say no, like something like that. Like, if I sampled all of you right now, do you text or drive? Have you ever, once in your life, looked at your phone while operating a vehicle? Like, we might get some who say no, maybe you feel comfortable. Maybe it's like the police give you that or something. Maybe it's not me. But, like, something where you're lying about what's happening. Like, you're not feeling as comfortable. You give some sort of response that's a lie. So that's a response bias. Versus non-response. Do you think the admin will over or underestimate? So they're probably going to over, because kind of like what we said, those who didn't respond probably didn't do their homework, or kids are lying to us because they feel pressured that Lane Boobin just emailed them wanting to know whatever. That tough Mr. Falden, don't want to answer to him. Okay, so probably overestimated. All right, and then the last one, a Boy Scout named Peter wants to know the proportion of people in his neighborhood who support the Scouts. aren't they? They're not the Boy Scouts anymore, right? Aren't they just the Scouts now? Okay. So, but he takes a random sample of 30 homes and goes and visits them, but he's dressed in his uniform. So, let's say he gets like 90% of people, 99% of people, whatever, love the Boy Scouts, the Scouts or whatever. So what's wrong with this survey is that, like, he's in his uniform. What's wrong with this survey? He's kind of eliciting a response. Yeah. And so they're probably lying. Maybe, you know, it could even be like a little kid and he's dressed in his uniform. Do you like the Boy Scouts? Like, is that your favorite thing? It's the best. And they're like, yeah, sweetie, I love it. And then he gets 100%. Like, I don't know why. Whatever. We're not. So, but he's probably, so what's wrong with the survey? So like he's in his uniform. So basically people might feel like awkward saying no, right? So this is actually what we just got into with like the lying. This is the same thing. This, when they're not telling you what they actually feel, that would be response bias. Okay, so they're not really giving an accurate answer for what they truly think. Response bias. So, under coverage, you're just totally not even letting people be in your survey on accident or on purpose. Non-response bias is just like some people just chose not to give you their response. Response bias is like people felt weird about giving you an answer, so they might have lied or given you something else that they thought you wanted. Then let's do some more examples on the check your understanding on the backside. Okay, so kind of the same thing here. So the sample is chosen at random from a telephone directory. So this is kind of the same thing as like the landline phones, like a telephone directory. Like again, I don't think my number's in a telephone directory, like a cell phone. So this one, the name for it, again, is under coverage, and like we're just totally missing out on people who are not in the directory. So some people can't be contacted, like I call and call and call, click that, so they never responded, so it's non-response bias. And then I'm sitting at my house wanting to survey people, so I just walk outside and choose people walking by me on the sidewalk to interview. Just like, oh, here, can you take the survey here? I go to my next class period and ask everybody in that class to take the survey. So that one we talked about on Friday. That one is, I don't know how to spell it again. I think that might be closer to what it actually is. Convenience, I think that one's right. Convenience bias, or convenience sample, which is not a good sample. Because there's no random, could just, people who live around me could think like me, I don't know, so it could lead to some bad things. And then the last one, number 2, it's kind of getting into like the wording. You also need to have good wording on your survey. So if your wording is like trying to lead people in some way to a different response, that's not good. We want our surveys to kind of be just flat line, what do you think? I'm not gonna like go to the like football game and say like, we like the athletic program brings so much joy to like the city. Shouldn't we what do you think about doubling the athletic budget and cutting everything else in half? and like you're like trying to really make sure those people are like wanting the athletic budget, or you're trying to really make people think one way or another. When we're sending out like a survey or a poll or something, we want it to just be like, what do you think about this? So this one, here's like the question. So they're trying to talk about like disposable diapers. So they're like, it's estimated that disposable diapers account for less than 2% of trash in the landfills. Contrast to beverage containers, mail, yard waste are about 21%. Given this, in your opinion, would it be fair to ban disposable diapers? So, like, here's the actual question: do you want to ban disposable diapers? But like, they gave all this like fluff, and they even said, would it be fair? You know, we're only less than 2%. Like this other stuff does all this. So you have to be careful on like wording of your question. So like a wording bias, badly written question. Okay, so that's kind of the gist of the biases, and you can try, it doesn't have to be on purpose. That's kind of a misconception. It's not necessarily on purpose. You can do good sampling techniques, but have bad questions, bad ways of getting it. So we just have to be kind of checking all these things to make sure the question we're asking is actually being asked. All right, sweet. So tomorrow, I'll see y'all for like an hour. We're gonna look at some of those AP College Board daily videos. And Friday we have a pep rally, which I forgot about until I heard someone else talking about it. So we'll adjust there. And we'll keep on.
Go.